Welcome to the Off-Grid Podcast, powered by Retreat Caravans. Join us as we dive into the incredible stories of caravanners who've embraced the open road and the off-grid lifestyle. Welcome to episode 21 of the Off-Grid Podcast. I'm your host, Tilly, and today I've got the pleasure of Luke Frost, otherwise known as Frosty, from Frosty's Aussie Adventures, joining me. Frosty, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you guys?
I'm very, very good. I'm nice and warm where I am, but please tell me a little bit about where you are. That backdrop looks a bit dark, mate.
I'm currently in Broome, Western Australia at Ganthian Point. So it's currently probably about 5:30 here in the morning. Been here for about an hour so we can get an epic sunrise in the background, showcase this beautiful beach that's behind us.
So what's the ETA on the sunrise?
I reckon in the next 10 minutes we're going to see a lot of colour and a lot of smiles kicking around. Probably the biggest one will be on my face, I reckon.
Well, that's good to see, mate. So you're in Broome and you're currently in Broome, obviously, and you've landed in Broome for a while. Why Broome? Why did you end up in Broome?
I ended up in Broome sort of to come here, find a bit of peace, I suppose, because Broome is it's a place of healing, and mostly because it's the gateway to the Kimberleys. So the best thing about being here, like I was saying, is like we've got beautiful pearls here, wearing a beautiful pearl necklace as we speak, and just being on the beaches and having that freedom to be able to drive straight down to the beach, relax, within a 5-minute radius, you can be down here having a cold tin, having a nice meal, and just enjoying it with your mates. Yeah.
And it looks pretty peaceful back there. I know you had a couple of friends just rock up there, but in general, it looks pretty peaceful there. And I'm already starting to see a bit of colour through the clouds coming through. Now, mate, you're pretty well known in the four-wheel drive space, right? Can you tell myself and anyone who's watching why everyone sort of wants to know a little bit about Frosty and what Frosty does?
Well, originally, the four-wheel drive space opened up for me probably back in around 2020. And I always just had a strong passion for getting into the industry and being a part of it because I like what it represents and what it brings in a culture that it, I suppose, brings to the whole industry, really. But
Yeah.
I was very fortunate enough to get in with Norweld and JMax and some very renowned companies throughout Australia, and just started getting into the shows, started traveling around, obviously seeing different destinations and stuff like that. And just being a part of a big family, that's where it all, for me, hits home hard, because in that industry, they've created such a big family, big culture, same as Retreat. Every time you get involved with different products and parts, the family culture that is like behind that product is absolutely out of this world. And what they bring to the table in that respect is, a 10 out of 10. And that's, for me, why I've got so involved in it, is more the people behind the scenes is what makes that product great.
And that's the thing about, obviously, the caravanning lifestyle, is that you get to meet new people on the road. You get to meet new people, anywhere you are. And the relationships that you build and then you make, they become potentially lifelong as well. Well, that's great to hear. Now, obviously, I know you like your four-wheel driving and you are set up in a beautiful location. You are a good-looking rooster yourself, mate. But the thing behind you, tell me a little bit about that rig behind you.
So the car behind me, that's a dual cab 79 series GXL. So that is a super tourer. That was JMax 95 chassis, if that makes sense to anyone, but I'll explain it. So JMax does huge GVM upgrades. So they what they actually do is they get your car, they will chop it in half, and they will do a pre-rego, which is a SSM approval. For those who don't know that, that's called secondary stage manufacturing.
Of course.
And they will build that car to an absolute standard and specification to what you need and what your needs are for touring. So in my case, they had to chop the chassis. They've extended it 300 mil. They've chucked 300 litres of diesel in it, 58 litres of water, and then allowed me to carry one of, I reckon, the best tents on the market, which is from Boss Aluminium, which he is in Melbourne. Dave, he's another innovator in the industry.
Yep.
Bull bars, carrying your Norweld canopy, which is a must. I reckon those guys have got it down packed.
Shout out to Norweld.
Norwells are bloody great. They've been around for a long time. They're your typical larrikin icon Australians, really, and they build things Australian tough for Australian conditions. But
That's what we like to
essentially,
see.
that car can carry 4.5 ton any day of the week, and it can pull my big kick-ass Daydream Retreat behind it. So I'm nearly at 8.5 ton loaded, and I can sit on me 110 any day of the week with plenty of horses under the bonnet ready to go.
There you go. Well, that's definitely a great introduction into your rig. Now, that, like you said, you alluded to a second ago, it pulls your Retreat Caravan. Now, you mentioned you got the Retreat Daydream, right? What year specification did you have the Retreat Daydream as?
So I've got a 2023 21C Retreat Caravan. So I've got a big front mounted toolbox on the front of it. I've got slide out angle fridge, 45 litre fridge, slide out generators. I've got a centre door access. I walk inside. And also, which I was very fortunate enough at the time, and it was the last of that series, was to have the centre slide, full leather interior. I've got my own walk-in wardrobe down the end. So having a shower and spice yourself up makes it easier being in a retreat. I've got a beautiful annex outside that attaches to my caravan, and also I run independent suspension with airbag. I think it is the airbag man suspension inside as well.
Yep. Pretty in-depth review of your caravan, and clear to say, I know you love it, and you are literally the last customer who purchased a slide-out caravan office. Now, you mentioned that you've got all the bells and whistles in your Retreat Daydream, but given it's the off-grid podcast, right, I'm sure people will be interested to know what type of technology you have in your caravan, because nowadays everyone's just after batteries and solar panels and inverters. Tell us a little bit about your Daydream and what it has standard.
Standard in that time, which I think it may have changed a little bit to date now, but standard was a 5,000 watt inverter, all run by Oscorp. I'm pretty sure it's a 7.1 kilowatt
Correct?
full submergible battery system that is integrated into the chassis.
Yep.
I'm running around 1,050 watts of solar on the roof. I have a dust suppression system on the inside of the caravan, as well as extraction fans, or exhaust fans, as people know.
Yep.
I've got all digital monitoring systems for my water tanks, for grey water as well as
Fresh
I
water?
think I have two water tanks on it, I'm pretty sure, in the front.
Yep. You would have 210 litre water tanks and a 95 litre grey, at least.
Yep, and also around the outside of the caravan, I've went a bit over the top, but I've got a light everywhere, because when I'm off grid and I'm out bush, I like to have lights all around the caravan. Even if it means it's under my shower, my outdoor shower, I still like to have lights everywhere, because
That's a picture everyone wants to see, right? Frosty showering in the outdoors under light.
100%. And the best thing is, like, I don't just go camping anymore. I go glamping now. And that's what I like about my retreat, is being out there, knowing I've got all the luxury comforts that I'd have at home with me every single day. And it makes me want to camp for longer and longer and extreme long periods of time, because I don't have any stress anymore. I don't need to be worrying about going to caravan parks, because worst case scenario, all I have to do is pull out a generator, kick it in the guts, and away I go.
Yep. So whilst you're on that conversation, how off grid do you actually get, and how long can you stay self-contained without the use of a generator? Obviously, I'm assuming you chase the sun, as you've done this morning. Obviously, I'm looking at the background behind you, and I don't know, turn around, have a look at it. It looks bloody amazing, just quietly, like as in from where we've started to where we are. Tell me a little bit about your off-grid situations that you've been in.
Well, the best off-grid location that I went to for a long period of time was actually due to work, so it's not always the best time, but we're at a community out of Kununurra, so it was called Imabanji. So I like real destinations, so it's about 100 k's out of Kununurra, Imabanji, and then you'll go down 60 k's. So it's a remote community in the top of Northern Territory, actually. Yep. And I was out there for about 2.5 weeks, and I was building a chain mesh fence, God knows why. But I was out there, I had 3 guys working for us. So we had one of the guys set up in the swag in the annex, and one of the other guys was very fortunate enough, because he's been with me for a long time. I have that much room in my caravan, I can blow a full air blow-up mattress on the floor. Yeah. So he got the luxuries of the air conditioning, and old mate outside got not that luxury.
Mother Nature.
But it was all right, because it was sort of that winter time anyway. But we were there for 2 weeks and never had the worst case was running the aircon at night time. But like any caravan, doesn't matter what brand, what company you go with, no matter how great the batteries are, your batteries are always not going to be able to handle that forever. And people seem to think that, you got all this battery system and you can run an aircon 24/7. No, it's got to be smart, and you need to use your upstairs thinking all the time, really.
Absolutely. You need to manage your loads, of course, and
Exactly.
it's always power in, power out. Do you have any tips for anybody like contemplating any sort of power management?
My best advice is, honestly, when you're traveling, and this is what I've found, and because I've had beach shacks and stuff down in Perth opposite Garden Island and stuff like that, and they were all run off solar. Best advice is, if you're going to run air conditioning and running lots of power, use your air conditioning at the very end of the night. So wait till you're about to go to bed, chuck it on at 8, 9 o'clock, and run your generator at the same time. So when you wake up in the morning, you're still going to have around 50, 60% of your battery capacity. And then during the day, the best thing about Retreat is, and I love how confident you guys are, my series of Caravan, you can't actually charge it from your vehicle to the van. And to me, that's a strong indicator that Retreat knows that they've built an absolute ultimate product, because they don't need to rely on a car to charge the vehicle all the time. So that says it all there.
Ah, beautiful. Now, Frosty, I want to talk about something called Frosty Fridays. Bit of a radio host, I hear.
Yeah, I've done multiple radio talk shows around Australia. Probably
Why
over.
does that not surprise me?
I just love it. I love interacting with people, having a chat, and I like telling proper good yarns, like just giving people a bit of a laugh, you know what I mean? Because sometimes people have a really bad day, and you can just talk about the most funniest story, even if it wasn't funny to me at the time, and people will just piss themselves.
Yeah.
Which
I've
is
been known
gold.
to tell a few of those stories, and let's just say the antics afterwards are sometimes scary because I don't know what reaction I'm going to get out of them.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? People say I should be on radio because apparently I have a head for radio.
That's exactly right, mate. It's just like me.
Come on, mate.
Like
Give me a compliment. You're a good, like I said to you before, you're a good-looking rooster. Throw a compliment my way as well. No, I'm kidding, mate. I want to know a little bit about the man. Okay, so I've heard about the car, I've heard about the caravan, I've heard about the adventure, but tell me a little bit about Frosty himself, or even Luke, for argument's sake. What made you, I guess, and what brought you to the point where you are right now?
Well, it all started, I suppose, back in 2014. I originally left Queensland just to sort of get out and about and work around Australia. I was young, I was a carpenter, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I still actually don't know now what I want to be when I grow up. But the thing is, I wanted to travel around, and I wanted to meet people. And I knew that being in this little country town that I grew up in, which was Springshall, bless my heart, it's still a beautiful place. I knew there wasn't going to be much opportunity there, and I knew I was going to be just kicking a rock around, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
So my inspiration was driven from there, and I started doing Facebook. So back then, really, Facebook wasn't a big thing, and it was more or less I created a page to show family of the travels and adventures that I'd been on. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought this would be cool, send some photos, people can give us a like here and there. And then it grew from there to doing magazine contracts with Darwin Life and NT Life Tourism magazines, then to doing radio talk shows with 4HI, Triple J, Sun FM,
Yep.
and Nada Media, which is up in the Pilbara as well. And then even going even further into detail of getting sponsorships with great companies like Norwell, J-Max, Swank Fabrication, Method Race Wheels, Country Trucker Hats. There's plenty of sponsors still yet to be named, but
Is a dealership up in Rockingham as well, perhaps?
oh yeah, Luxury RVs, that would be a good sponsor, hopefully one day.
Lukey, if you're watching, mate.
Yeah, we'll have to get him on board. You know, we've both got the same name, so he must be good blokes.
It was meant to be.
He's a good looking rooster too, isn't he?
Oh, you throw him a compliment, but not me, hey? Okay. I know how you're working, mate. All right. Now, I know for a fact that you got a bit going on, right? No pun intended. Do you want to tell us what you've actually got going on, or what's cooking?
So I do have a bit going on, and that's going to be the next brand behind Frosty's Aussie Adventures. So the brand name will be called A Bit Going On, and I've essentially established this brand based around men's and women's mental health. So I wanted a brand that people can relate to, and I want to create a community and a culture where people can feel transparent about talking to one another. Because the best thing is, in my industry, we're always going to remote destinations and areas, and we always end up sitting around a campfire, and everyone's always got a story to tell. And I find that we all interact the best when we're out bush, because you get the best out of people, and you can see where people have come from, different walks of life and stuff like that. And I think creating a brand around that culture is it's a big thing for myself, and it hits home hard. And I want people to feel comfortable to be able to release some emotions, anger, and all that sort of stuff. And if we can create, as I call it, the big circle of Frosty's mates, I think it'll make a difference. And maybe one day down in the future, create a foundation so that we can donate money towards people that need help, because we've all been through our own mental health experiences. Me personally, I've been through quite a lot throughout my life, which I won't get into details, and I'm sure you're on the same boat as well.
100%.
So that's very exciting, and we're going to start it off. This slogan for the back of our shirts is called "Enough of Being Tough." So that's what it's going to be based around, because in Australia, everyone thinks they're too tough to talk about anything, and that's the stigma, unfortunately, that has been created since we were kids.
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations on, starting something like that. And if people want to find out a little bit more about it, how do they find out about the whole story?
Well, they'll be able to get access through Facebook and social media. Just send us a personal message, and can fill you in on all the details and stuff like that.
So has a bit going on launched, or it's launching?
It should be launching today. So we've done a full promotional video yesterday at Entrance Point, which I call Nature's Window. So we did a beautiful video there yesterday explaining the backstory behind it and why it's such an important piece to us and why we're doing it. And hopefully we should start selling shirts by the end of the week.
How good is that, mate? Just another exclusive for the Off Grid podcast. And I'm sure people are going to want to know how they can help. So we'll make sure that we put a link in our posts about your merch and how they can get it on board. That's great to hear, mate. And again, congratulations on starting your foundation. And yeah, we wish you all the best, of course. And hopefully, one way or another, we can also get involved as long as everyone else helps us as well. Now, you mentioned before earlier that the rig behind you, and you got plans, I think, for a new rig and potentially a new caravan. You've got a few sponsors, and you sort of subtly mentioned a few earlier. Do you want to give them an official shout out and tell everyone what it means to they give you the opportunity to do what you love doing?
100%. Well, I'd like to have a big shout out first of all to Norwell Australia. They've been absolutely exceptional. They've provided me with some of the best stands around Australia when it comes to going to the four-wheel drive shows. The community and culture that they've surrounded me around and the people that they've introduced me to has really allowed me to do what I'm doing now and where I am today, because they've introduced me to so many different people and given me the opportunity with so many other sponsors to actually have a go. Because if it wasn't for those guys, I probably wouldn't be where I am now in this industry. They've been the strong backbone behind Frosty's Aussie Ventures and that solid support, which has been great. There's also JMax Off-Road Solutions. They've been exceptional with doing all the GVM upgrades and just been absolutely legends in what they do. Then you've got Swank Fabrication in Perth. So Swank, he does all the JMax GVM upgrades. You've got Hunt Mechanical country trucker hats. Everyone knows Knuckles builds the beautiful embroidered 3D hats that are sold all around Australia, around the world. He's an absolute legend. Cruiser Consoles. There's Method Race Wheels. There's other companies there. Carbon Winters, Bushwhacker. Hopefully Luxury RVs. If you're listening to this, Luke, better start putting together a bit of a sponsorship deal, mate.
Get on board, mate. In the words of Luke Bell, let's just get it done. That's beautiful, mate. And good on them as well for helping you out. Now you got a massive rig, right? You got a beautiful caravan behind you. Where do you actually get to go, and what are some of your, I guess, more popular destinations and why?
Well, I can pretty much go wherever I want, but to be honest, I found myself sort of not stuck in Broome, but I've situated myself here because, like I said, Broome is the gateway to the Kimberleys. You've got Cape Leveque, and I'm a top end person. So I like the Pilbara, the Kimberleys, Northern Territory, and the top of Queensland. So I like that real remote, barren, every town's about 500 k's away. And that's why having a retreat up here is great. Like, if I was down more towards, say, Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, stuff like that, I'd probably look to get a smaller setup so I can get into more of the high country. So the setup that I have is quite big, and for me it works very good here because I use it as a base station. So I can go to Kununurra, leave my caravan there, jump in the Super Tourer, and then go and send it out bush for a week.
Yeah. And you've got any advice for people who are looking at getting off-grid for the very first time or updating from an on-road model to an off-grid model? Any advice in, when they go visit us at caravan shows or want to talk to us, what is it that they should ask or what is it they should look into?
I think if you're going to go to caravan shows and stuff, have a look around. But everyone, if you're listening to this, take my advice. Just go to the good companies like Retreat. I do like to acknowledge other companies because they do have good products. And
Yep.
I believe Retreat is in the top 4 in Australia. But for me, it's top 1. But I'm just being biased. But top 4, same as any industry, there's always the top 4 leaders. And they are the leaders in that industry. And there's a reason why, because they've built good caravans for such a long time.
Mate, we appreciate your recommendation. And yeah, 20 years next year is going to be a big one for us. And it's great to be amongst the top leaders of the industry, which we feel that we are, but it's good to hear it from customers who are out there experiencing it in day-to-day life, So thank you very much on our behalf.
100%.
Now, Frosty, I'm going to wrap this up, mate, but I'm sure people are going to be watching and they're going to be just hearing about, your setup that you've just had before. Where can they find out a little bit more about your foundation?
Just jump on to Facebook, Instagram, and you'll find us there.
Which pages in particular, mate?
Frosty's Aussie Adventures. Just type that in on Facebook and Frosty's Aussie Adventures on Instagram. Pretty straight up.
Beautiful, mate. Just send it and bend it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's actually going on the next hats that we're releasing. So we're doing it's called Bit Going On because behind that brand, so it's always enough of being tough. But after that, every hat is going to have a catchy slogan.
Yeah.
So we're going to have Bit Going On, and then on the side will be You Reckon. Then it will be on the back, Send It Till You Bend It, with the Southern Cross. And we're going to release another style hat, which is called Bit Going On the front, Kimberley Creature on the side, and on the back, Let's Get Roosted, with a big rooster above it. Because everyone doesn't mind being a bit of a Kimberley Creature every now and then.
Mate, Retreat Caravans' factories in Campbellfield. Feel free to send as many hats as you want. I can always model them for you. But listen, mate, I've got a bit going on. You've definitely got a bit going on, so we better get going. Thank you very much for spending your morning with us, and God knows what time you actually got there. I reckon, although you said you've been there from 4:30, I reckon you've been there since midnight. What an adventure, bud. Like seeing the background behind you, it looks amazing. It looks fake, but it's not fake, I can guarantee it.
It's 100%.
That's 100% real, mate. Just a bloke, his rig, and a camera. And that guy just driving past. That's beautiful. Frosty, really appreciate your time. Really appreciate your story. And good luck with your bit going on. And I hope everyone gets on board as well to support you.
Bloody oath, mate. I hope everyone in Australia has a good week and I hope you all have a bit going on.
Speak to you soon, mate.
See you, mate.
All the best. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Off-Grid Podcast. If you're passionate about off-grid adventures and have a unique story, we'd love to have you on as a guest. Connect with us to share your experiences and inspire others with your off-grid journey. Remember, life is an adventure meant to be lived off the grid. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories, helpful tips, and exciting adventures. This is the Off-Grid Podcast, powered by Retreat Caravans.